Everybody, welcome to the psychology session. My name is Shaan Shahabuddin. I am a psychology faculty member here at Seattle Central College. And I have the honor today of introducing y'all to the field of psychology. So I want to make this presentation a bit interactive. So I'll ask y'all to do some activities. I'll ask you some questions along the way. And I'm hoping I can persuade y'all of how interesting the field of psychology is, and hopefully have everyone take at least one psychology class while they're a student here. All right, so this is our presentation. Anytime y'all can feel free to ask a question if you like. You can raise your hand or just unmute and ask, or type it in the chat if you're a little bit shy. Yeah. All right. So usually I like to give a breakdown of what I'm going to cover. So first, I'll tell you the definition of what psychology is. We'll do a few activities to help you understand more of what psychology is. I'll break down different subfields and perspectives of psychology. Psychology is a lot more than just therapy or mental illness. So I'll tell you a little bit more of what it is. And then we'll talk about different jobs you can get with just a bachelor's in psychology, as well as skills that psychology majors gain, why employers want to hire psych majors specifically. And then we'll talk about interesting classes that are offered here at the Seattle colleges. And I'll show you a little bit of our faculty. Yeah. So first, what is psychology? One definition is that it's the scientific study of the mind, mental processes, and behavior. So psychologists study the mind to understand why humans and animals behave the way that they do. Right? Topics include memory, emotion, risk-taking, personality, everything that is about us as humans and why we behave certain ways. So let me start this off with a little activity to show you what I mean. I would like everyone to close your eyes, right? Close your eyes, and I want you to imagine eating your favorite dessert. Right? Think of a favorite dessert that you have, something sweet, usually sugary, high in fat, but tastes so good. If you don't have a favorite dessert, think of a favorite meal, right? And just imagine yourself eating that dessert or that meal, right? Just like savor it, imagine how it tastes in your mouth, the texture, right? Take that in for a little bit. Yeah. All right, good. Y'all imagine eating a dessert or something, sweet that we like. Would anyone like to tell us what you imagine eating? Yeah, you can, just unmute. Go ahead. Jamila said donuts. Andres said chocolate ice cream. All right, on the screen here, you have gulab jamun, top left, a very famous Pakistani food. Faluda on the bottom left, another very famous Pakistani dessert drink. So most likely the thing you imagine eating wasn't healthy, and eating too much of that can lead to diabetes, cholesterol, high blood pressure, fat. What can we do to limit the amount of desserts and fatty food that we eat? But how can we limit eating fatty foods? Because obviously they're very delicious. We want to eat them all the time. How can we stop ourselves from eating unhealthy foods? Yeah, what do y'all say? Is it possible? You can unmute and talk as well if you like. No one, no ideas of how to limit our eating of desserts?
Self-control.
There you go. Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else? Of course, yeah, self-control. Restrict yourself, right? What else can you do to prevent yourself from eating fatty foods? So sometimes people say you can replace an unhealthy food with a healthy food. If you want to eat pizza, just eat a carrot stick instead, right? You could imagine, well, I want to get in this perfect body, so this is gonna restrain me from achieving my goal. So you can think of the goals that you have, and this is gonna limit the pursuit of your goal, so you should stop. Andre said possibly, but miserable. Amber said mindfulness, take the time to interrupt your brain's craving. And a person named iPad says find motivation to be more healthy. Good. Now, what people don't really think of is mental imagery and perspective. So let me go back a little bit. When I told y'all to close your eyes and think of a dessert you like to eat, who was thinking from a first-person perspective and who was thinking from a third-person perspective? So in the chat, type in first or third. If you imagine yourself eating dessert like this, where when you close your eyes, you imagine like from the first-person perspective of eating, like you see your hands grabbing the thing, then putting it in your mouth. And who imagine it from the third-person perspective, where you imagine like someone recording a video of you eating. All right, so yeah, first person or third person. Go ahead and type in the chat when I said close your eyes, what did you imagine? And some people usually only dream in first person. Other people only dream in third person, which is another, topic for itself. And so a lot of people said first person. When they close their eyes and imagine eating, they imagine from a first person perspective. Psychologists have done studies and they ask people, hey, we want you to either, for one group, they said, I want you to imagine eating chocolates from a first person perspective. For another group, they said, I want you to imagine eating chocolate from a third person perspective. What they found is those that are told to imagine from a third person perspective, and after they imagined, then they're all given real chocolates. And it said, now that you've imagined, go ahead and eat as many chocolates as you like. They found those who imagined from a third person perspective ate less chocolates, and they rated them as less favorable in taste, appearance, and sweetness. All right. Other studies have found that imagining things from a third person perspective has resulted in saving more money for the future, a reduction of emotional intensity of past experiences, and feeling less anxious. So imagining things from a certain perspective can lead to different results, one of which is consuming less sugary sweets. So something we didn't know about until recently, the perspective you take when you imagine, doing something. Here's another little study / activity. So imagine, any questions about this? I'm trying to show you all how psychology is scientific and how we're finding out things about human behavior through studies. No questions. All right. So another activity is imagine there is a room that contains 100 people and 70 people are engineers, 30 people in the room are lawyers. I pick someone at random and I speak with them, and here's me describing to you that random person I picked out from the room. And this is me describing to you how they're like. He is a twice divorced man who spends most of his free time at a country club. He regrets following in his father's footsteps. He wishes he hadn't spent so much time in college on academics and instead spent more time socializing so he wouldn't be so quick to argue with people. Is it more likely this person I'm describing is a lawyer or an engineer? I want y'all to type in the chat if you think it's more likely this person is a lawyer or an engineer by typing in lawyer or engineer. Yeah, just type in lawyer or engineer based on what you think, based on the scenario presented. All right, 2 people said lawyer, 1 person so far said engineer, someone else said lawyer, someone else said lawyer. So 2 engineers, and it seems like rest of you said lawyer. Would anyone like to tell us why, for those who said lawyer, who would like to tell us why you think the answer is lawyer? Any volunteers? You can unmute and just tell us why you think so. Or if you want to type it in the chat on reasons why you picked lawyer, go ahead and, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's a lawyer by the reason for he already get through divorce, and it's one of the character of understanding, I think, for me, how the person see the conflict inside of a relationship. And the another side, what I think most of the people decide why it's a lawyer, he's so quick to argue with people, and he know how winning on it because he know the rules.
Thank you. And what was your name?
Anastasia.
Okay, thank you. And you can rename yourself if you like. Your name says iPad right now. Thank you.
Yeah, I tried.
Okay, can you spell your name out for me?
Anastasii.
All right, let me know if that's right. Is that right? Anastasia?
Yeah, it's okay.
Did I spell it correctly?
Anastasia.
Anesthesia.
Yeah, it's kind of hard, but it's okay.
Thank you. Thank you. And Andre said because he's quick to argue with people. So you're given some hints that made you pick one or the other. If you said lawyer, there are probably some big hints that is why that stood out. But it's more likely this person is an engineer. Can anyone tell us why engineer is the correct answer? Yeah. Well, there's just higher likelihood. If you look at just probability, out of 100 people, you pick one at random, there's a 70% chance you're picking an engineer. It's like one of those problems, right? There's like a jar full of 100 gumballs, whatever. 70 blue gumballs, 30 red gumballs. You pick one at random, there's a 70% chance you're picking a blue one. So I think a lot of us might have been what's called distracted or influenced by a lot of this stuff in the text, but really none of this really matters. All that really matters is there are 100 people, 70 are engineers. Therefore, regardless of what this here says, it's a higher likelihood this person is an engineer, right? And a lot of these things, these terms like divorce, country club, argue, are reasons why we may have stereotyped, right? This is a notion called representative heuristic in psychology, which is we judge the probability of membership in a category by how well someone fits or represents that category. We see a person, our perspective of them is either clear or a little bit foggy based off of anything that might have influenced us, which is a pre-notion to stereotypes, prejudice, and assumptions. Right, so we may say, hey, lawyers argue a lot. Lawyers, their fathers are lawyers. They're usually divorced. They usually go to country clubs. Some of this might be true, but if it's overgeneralized, then we're stereotyping. Stereotyping is another topic we cover in psychology. Why do people make assumptions of others in groups? Usually they take small bits of information and then overgeneralize it to the entire group of people. So psychology can be divided into several different pillars. 5 pillars we'll discuss. First is the most popular one, mental and physical health. People think psychology is all about abnormal psychology, therapies, stress, lifestyle. There's also a social psychology component, developmental, cognitive, and biological. So when you take an intro to psychology class, not only will you learn about the mental health side of psychology, but you learn about everything in between, from how to teach our dogs tricks, to how memory and dreams work, to understanding our personality, to understanding how we behave differently when in the presence of others, to realizing when and why we're motivated, right? And understanding our own emotions. So psychology is a vast field that is greater than just mental health and therapy. In fact, aside from counseling, can you tell us what other fields do psychologists work in? Aside from working as a counselor, where else do psychologists work?
Hi again. I think it's a lot of different type of work in psychology. It's psychology who working together with the firemen and firefighters for helping the people. Psychologists who working with childs, and it's different type of psychology. With the patient who get through oncology, family psychology. In a hospital, psychology who helping the psychiatrists. Yeah,
Right,
that's kind of.
Thank you. Yeah, and aside from therapy, you can also, there's sports psychologists who work on creating apps, video games, psychologists in film and fashion design, psychologists who are also engineers, and for the government, right? And if you there's intersectionality between psychology and several different fields. Psychology and neurology, biology, computer science, history, family studies, engineering, marketing, management, education, law, several different fields, right? Usually, most of them require a graduate degree, but you can also do a lot with just a bachelor's, which we'll get into a little bit. There are several subfields, but I want to divide it like this. I want to first focus on the clinical therapy subfield, right? So you have counselors in the middle who do counseling. You have psychiatrists on one end who use medicine as a way to solve problems. So I'm having hallucinations, I'm depressed, I'm anxious. The solution is medication, right? For psychiatrists. You also have researchers who do studies, like the studies I described before. You have clinical psychologists who are a mixture of psychiatrists and counselors who do therapy and use medicine. And you have counselor researchers who are counselors but who do research. If you ever stumbled upon a study like, eating chocolate leads to greater happiness, less time on the phone leads to greater life satisfaction. All these research studies are usually done by psychologists, sometimes those who are counselors. Anyone know the difference between psychiatry and psychology? Anyone know the difference? Sometimes people say, psychiatry, psychology. There is a difference though. Difference is, oh, yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I think the difference between psychiatrist and counselor, the psychiatrist more go into bigger problem, would provide the medicine for it. When it's getting to more bigger, I think, problem with the human being have. And a counselor, he tried to solve the problem, what not that evaluated, I think, without the medicine on it, because as I remember right, counselor cannot provide the medicine prescription.
They can, depending on the state and the rules of the state. So in Texas, a counselor may not be allowed to prescribe medication, but in Washington, they might. A good perspective. Their focus is different. The main difference is where they go to school after undergrad. After getting a bachelor's degree, psychiatrists go to medical school, the same school that your doctor or surgeon might have gone to, while clinical psychologists and counselors go to graduate schools. So psychologists get a PhD or a master's, MD or MA, while psychiatrists get an MD, right? Medical school or graduate school. That's the main difference. And yeah, of course, the focus is different. Aside, if you want to get a graduate degree in psychology, but you don't want to do therapy, you can work in several fields, including IO psychology, which is the psychology of the workplace. You study how to make employees happy at their jobs, how to increase worker satisfaction. A lot of people are stressed at work. Employees leave early, come in late. They take time off. In an 8-hour day, they only really put in 2 hours of real work. How do we make employees enjoy their job? That's the work of IO psychologists. Psychology of the workplace. You have engineering psychologists. How do we design tables and chairs and video game controllers and keyboards that are comfortable to where people want to keep using them? They apply the engineering side of psychology to work on products that humans will use. If you've ever used any app or smartphone or been on any website, you'll notice the way you navigate, right? The buttons, where things are located, is the menu on this side or this side. Can you do it with one hand? Can you click and text with one hand, or does the app require you to have two hands? All that is a work of UX, UR, user experience, user researchers. This is like the computer science side of psychology. You have like coders who understand design, make interfaces with the human in the back of their mind, right? As a human, what would be easy for you to understand and click on, right? Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, the buttons that pop up, right? How you post things. It's all the work of UX, UR. You can focus on academia. If you don't want to work in industry and you don't want to be a therapist, you can work as an instructor, high school teacher, middle school teacher. You can be a college professor, university professor. Or if you don't want to do any of that and you just want a bachelor's degree, you may have heard, you can't get a job with just a bachelor's. You can, but it may not be in the psychology field. You can definitely get a job with just a bachelor's in psychology, but it may not be doing therapy or in a hospital. Here's a list of all the jobs that you can do with just a bachelor's. And a lot of them have nothing in common, right? In this day and age, you can either get a degree that focuses on skills. I've learned how to computer program and code, right? I've learned how to, I learned how to do accounting, right? I can get numbers and make databases and spreadsheets, and I learned this in school. I studied nursing in school, and I learned how to do vital signs and check to see if someone is sick. Those are specialized degrees. You're learning a specific skill that you actually apply in the workforce. Most other degrees, though, are generalized degrees. Psychology, history, English, math, biology. What you learn, you don't usually apply at the workplace. So nowadays, you just need any kind of bachelor's degree to get a job, right? A lot of the jobs you're seeing here, if you look on websites, they'll say you have to have a bachelor's degree in psychology, history, sociology, English, or anything related, right? So you don't really have to apply what you learned. But if you major in psychology, employers may be keen to hiring you because as a psychology major, you pick up several different skills. You pick up analytical thinking, critical thinking, you learn how to make decisions. Through classes and projects, you learn why people make the decisions that you do. You learn oral and written communication skills, how to write technical reports, how to write resumes, how to understand research studies. You learn personal skills, how to adapt to situations, understanding, self-reflecting on why we do certain things. All right, we learn social skills, how to work with others, how to collaborate, how to handle conflicts and negotiations. If you're in a group and the group starts to argue, how to calm people down and have them focus back on the task. Leadership, management, service orientation. All these are skills that we pick up as psychology majors. All right, questions so far? Any questions? No? All right, we have about 12 minutes left. Just a few more slides. Next slides are going to be about classes offered at our colleges. So we have a campus at North Seattle. The one I teach at is Seattle Central. Then there's South Seattle. All three campuses teach several classes. We all teach intro to psych. We all teach physio psych. I think we all teach social psych. But the classes that are highlighted are only offered at those respective campuses. So North Seattle is the only college in the district that offers psychology statistics, right? My college, Seattle Central, is the only college that offers psychology of racism and psychology of African Americans. And South Seattle is the only college that offers psychology of addiction, right? Aside from that, we all offer the other ones that you see. Okay. A lot of students who take classes at Central want to transfer to UW, University of Washington. I believe regardless of what campus you transfer to, whether it's UW Seattle, UW Tacoma, UW Bethel, usually you'll have to have at least a 2.0 GPA, and you have to take all three of these classes. Psych 100, which is intro to psych, Psych 222, which is physio psych, or biopsych, the biological part of psychology, and Psych 209, which is research methods, where you learn to, you read a lot of research papers, and then you eventually propose your own research study. And after you take those classes, every other psych class you take will count as an elective. And aside from these three, you have to have your basics, your English 101s, your bio, a math class, and a social science, humanities, and all that. And then you can transfer in as a psych major. At UW, though, when you transfer in, you're not automatically a psych major. You transfer into the university, and after the first quarter or so, you transfer into your actual, then you become a psych major. Yeah. And if you want to know more information about psychology, and you just have any questions in general, if you go on Google, okay, just make sure everyone can see Google now, right? Yeah, everyone's seeing Google? Okay, so you just type in psychology, Seattle Central College, and the first link right over here, you get to the psychology homepage for our campus, Seattle Central. You go down and you can see a list of classes that we offer, and then you can see all of our pictures. If you want to contact us, you can either call us, you can click on this button to email us, and if you want to see a little sample of a 2-year degree plan, transfer plan, you can click on View Program Map, and that will show you like a little sample of what classes you should take every quarter. Quarter 1, you should take English, Psych 100, visual performing arts, right, and then so on. If it says like natural or world science, you click on this little button, and it'll tell you all the classes that that you can take. So all of these would classify as a natural science, yeah. Right. It says you have to take a visual, literary, performing arts. Well, what does that mean? Click on this little button. Click on this title right over here. And all of these will count as a visual performing arts credit to earn an associate's at Seattle Central. Okay. And that is my presentation, y'all. The last slide was just a little, yeah, you can email us, call us. And the last slide is just a thank you slide. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you learned something from it. And now I can open it up for any questions that you have. I noticed Anesthesia has a question about what about clinical psychologist degree, if it's medical degree or general degree. So when you graduate with a bachelor's degree in psychology, you've taken a class in social psych, a class in cognitive psych, class in developmental psych. So you've taken a class on all these little things, but you're not qualified enough to actually practice psychology. So that's why you have to do a master's and focus on clinical or counseling, for example. Then in those 2 years, they teach you all about therapy. And after you get your master's, you have to usually do like an internship. You have to have like 500 hours, whatever, of actually therapy with the counselor. And then you have to pass a licensure exam to be certified. And then you can practice as a counselor. So clinical and counseling is more focused, but you have to do it after your undergrad. So the undergrad is still a more general degree. Yeah. Oh yeah, you're welcome. Other questions that you may have about psychology or our campus or the Seattle Colleges district? Yeah, we have 7 more minutes. So, I mean, the floor is y'all. Floor is open for anything you are curious about. Or questions about college in general for those who are coming in from high school. Magnus?
Yes. So I was wondering, kind of, I kind of joined late, but I was just wondering what the 2-year like psychology intro classes look like. Like, what are the focuses?
Yeah, so kind of going back on here. So if you come to Seattle colleges in North, South, or Central, usually we want students to take Psych 100 first, and then really you can take anything from there. So you notice on the program map, quarter 2 it just says Psych elective, and then quarter 3 is Psych 209, which is research methods, and then quarter 4 is physio psych. Again, those 3 are required to transfer to most universities. And the rest, it just says psychology elective. So we usually recommend taking 100 first because it's a survey course of here is a little bit of about every little field and every little perspective. And now that you have an understanding of each field, now do whatever you like. So the elective, you can take personality if you want, human sexuality, social psych, personality, whatever you like. So the more popular ones are lifespan psychology, which is required for nursing majors and dental hygiene majors, or anyone wanting to go to the medical field. lifespan psychology is all about how we change as from toddlers to adolescents to adults to elderly, and then how we deal with death. Abnormal psych is very popular. The entire class, you cover a different psychological illness. 1 week it'll be schizophrenia. 1 week it'll be narcissistic personality disorders. Then it'll be anorexia, right? Then something else. So really, you can take whatever classes you want. We just have a little map to kind of recommend, take 100 first, get a feel of what the whole field is about. Then take 209, that's more, research, and then physio, the whole bio side. But however you really want to go about it. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Of course, I'm glad I was able to answer it. Other questions? Anyone else? Who's ever, yeah.
Hi, I think my question, how many people is the students in the classroom in the psychology?
Nice, good. Yeah, so our average class size, for all psych classes in the district, I think the maximum is 30, 35. And the average size is around 25 to 30. So I want to say an average class will be about 25 students. Depends on the time of day. Of course, the 8 a.m. classes are less students. The 2 p.m. classes are a lot more students. Certain instructor, we all have a different teaching style. So someone who's more does activities and games, like, maybe the students who would like to sign up for them. Other instructors are more old school, maybe don't use technology or PowerPoints. So, what I'm saying is some classes will have less students, some will have more, but the average size is around 25 to 30. Yeah, no more than 35. So it's good because it's pretty hands-on. Right? The instructor usually knows the names of other students. Instructors usually are open to having students come in during office hours and chat about like whatever you want. If you take the same 100 level class at the university, at UW, you're in a classroom with like 300 other students, right? And you never even see the instructor. You only see their TAs, who are also graduate students who are super busy themselves, who may not have time to like talk to you and stuff. So yeah, good question.
Thank you.
You're welcome. If you take an intro level psych class, depending on who you have, you'll learn maybe about stress and how to handle it. You'll learn about how to have better study habits. In my class, I have everyone complete a Myers-Briggs personality inventory, like a personality test. And then everyone reflects on, what's your personality type? Do you think this is accurate? Students usually say, hey, this personality assessment and discussion and reflection help me understand, hey, I'm an introvert and that's cool. Like I'm in a society where I'm being pushed to be extroverted, but I realize I should be fine and proud of who I am, which is what I'm hoping we get from every class. Every psych class, hopefully you're learning about yourself and you're proud to be who you are, right? You understand yourself more and the reasons why you do certain things. Other questions?
Oh, could you drop your email in the chat?
Yeah, sure. And we're about to leave in a minute and a half. It's gonna we'll get kicked out of the breakout room. But remember, you can always just Google Seattle Central. Oh man, hold on. You can just Google psychology Seattle Central College. The very first link. Click on that and scroll down. You'll see my picture. You can just click on email and email me that way.
Okay.
Yeah, it's actually it's a long it's a long name, but I'll drop it here. You can copy and paste it if you like. It's Shaan Shahabuddin at seattlecolleges.edu. Yeah. Feel free to email me whenever about anything. I mean, it's my job to get people interested in psychology. Questions about psychology, about Seattle College, applying, how to register, whatever you want. If I don't know the answer, I'll link you up with someone who does.
Cool. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. Any other questions? You have a few more seconds left. Okay, if you have questions, please feel free to email me. I'm pretty approachable. Hopefully, maybe I'll see you in one of my classes in the fall, or maybe I'll see you on campus in the spring or fall. Thank you for coming, and hope you learned something about psychology. Take care.
Thank you.
You too, thank you.
Thank you.